Welcome to the Recommended Daily Value Podcast, your daily dose into the health and wellness world.
Welcome back to the Recommended Daily Value Podcast, brought to you by Umzu. I'm your host, Tyler Woodward, and today we're going to be talking about why you should try to consume protein, carb, and fat together at every meal. So to understand why you should be eating these together at every meal, we've got to understand somewhat of why we're eating in the first place. And at the most fundamental, basic underlying level, we eat for energy, right? And as humans, our primary form of energy comes in glucose. So much so that when our body runs low on glucose, we start to break down our own muscle tissue to be converted into amino acids to convert those into glucose so our body can continue to function. In fact, if your blood sugar gets too low, you will literally go into a coma and eventually pass away. Same thing happens when you get too high. You can suffer from blurred vision, dizziness, and eventually you can go into a coma as well. So more commonly than being extremely hyperglycemic or hypoglycemic is having a little bit too high of blood sugar. And this results in a sharp increase in blood sugar levels, which causes your body to release a surplus of insulin to force glucose into your cells and out of the bloodstream. This is thought to, quote unquote, overwhelm your cells by forcing excess glucose into them that they're not ready to use, so they have to store it as fat instead of burning it as fuel into ATP. The key to preventing this insulin and glucose spike and crash is by eating in a way to keep your blood sugar balanced. Now, it's worth mentioning that the spike in glucose and insulin isn't inherently a bad thing, as it's necessary for growth, and insulin is actually a potent antagonist to cortisol. Cortisol is the body's main stress hormone, meaning that when you have a release of insulin, it actually lowers cortisol directly. But too big of a spike/crash will likely come at the cost of some unwanted fat gain. So without further ado, here's why you should combine a carb, protein, fat, and meal. So first, you need carbs like natural sugars or starches to directly support your metabolism, or else you'll have to dive into your liver's energy, or followed by breaking down your own muscle mass for energy. Second, consuming protein, also known as amino acids, prevents the concentration of amino acid in your blood from going too low, which will also release a stress response in the form of cortisol and adrenaline. Consuming protein without carbs, on the other hand, can also cause the release of insulin because certain amino acids are insulinogenic, meaning they also stimulate the release of insulin. So that can also cause your blood sugar to crash. Finally, we've got fat. So consuming some fat with your meal just helps to slow down the digestive process overall, meaning that it increases the amount of time it takes for the food you eat to actually reach your bloodstream. What this means is that you're going to get much less of a spike and crash because the energy is entering your bloodstream at a slower rate, so your cells can use it over a longer period of time, much less likely to be burned than it is to be stored. And if you have heard that you shouldn't eat carbs and fats at the same time, this is a drastic oversimplification. They say this because your mitochondria can actually only burn glucose or fat at once. But the difference is that your body is very large, and certain mitochondria and cells will be burning different fuels at different times. For example, at rest, your muscles and heart predominantly burn fat, while your organs, liver, brain, all burn glucose at rest. So even though those individual cells can only burn one or the other, your body as a whole can burn both at the same time. And if you're hungry, you don't have the time to make a full meal, try to get in some natural sugars that have some fiber attached, like apples, bananas, berries, as the natural fibers actually help to slow digestion a little bit and slow the release of glucose into the bloodstream, so helping to prevent that insulin spike and crash again. So I hope that helps, guys. If you find that this episode useful, make sure to share with a friend and hit that subscribe button. Until next time, be good. And just a reminder that these opinions are my own, based on my own research and experiences, and are not medical advice.